Good morning, everyone. I hope you know by now, if you've been in these webinars, that the best medicine for Parkinson's is exercise. We have had numerous speakers in the last 4 years talking about the benefits of exercise and many demonstrations of different exercises for people with Parkinson's. Our guest, Kristine Meldrum, published a book in January that is groundbreaking in several ways. First of all, she gives us the history of exercise with Parkinson's. Did you know that over 100 years ago, Charcot designed a vibrating chair that he said relieved Parkinson's symptoms? No one else could replicate his study, so people with PD were told not to exercise. And we know what happened with that. Then in 2002, Jay Alberts, who spoke to us several years ago, saw the benefits of exercise during the RAGBRAI bicycle race in Iowa. More research followed by Bas Bloom, Daniel Korkos, and others, all showing positive results with exercise. Kristine then talks about the science of exercise, what it is doing to your brain, and why. The science is followed by the benefits, not just for people with Parkinson's, but for the entire family and their Parkinson's team. With her PD exercise cocktail, she designs a specific exercise protocol for each person, utilizing members of the care team, PD-specific exercise classes, and more. Finally, she uses case studies to show how it works. Some of these people are here with us today, and several of them are members of Twitchy Women. So, Kristine, what prompted you to write this book? Why did you include the different sections on the history of exercise, the science behind it, etc.? And you have endorsements of some of the best known Parkinson's researchers in the world. You run a clinic in Iowa. I am very impressed. How were you able to get them to participate in this amazing project of yours? Thank you, Kristine, and take it away.
Put this down here. So here you see, these are some of the photos of people. There's over 20 stories in the book. People with Parkinson's, people that and then there's case studies of people from across the country that have used the protocols based on the science and research that the scientists that we talk about in the book. And the one thing I want you to notice is that these people are smiling. They're smiling, happy, they're strong, and they feel good. Their lives have changed dramatically through exercise. This is Rhonda Folds. I'm just going to talk about two stories. Rhonda Folds was 35 years old when she was diagnosed with Parkinson's. And within 5 years, she went from being a healthy, strong woman to being in a wheelchair. That's how fast her Parkinson's progressed. So she was probably one of the youngest people to have surgery. And at the time, DBS surgery was still pretty, and it was quite unusual for them to have someone this young on DBS surgery. So she had her DBS surgery, and when she decided that she was going to take life and get out of that wheelchair. And she started by walking. She started by walking, and her son came, because her son came home one day. He was in one of the services, and he said, "Mom, how long has it been you ran?" Because she was a casual runner earlier in her life. And she said, "It's been 10 years. And so he said, "Come on, let's walk from this light pole to that light." So she started, that's how she walked from one light pole to the next light pole. And she started to do treadmill training. And she just kept going. And the next thing you know, this woman who never did anything, she never ran any official races in her life prior to having Parkinson's. She started running 5Ks, 10Ks, all after she had Parkinson's. And so Rhonda now is in her 60s. She's doing marathons. And people to this day They don't think she has Parkinson's. They can't tell that she has Parkinson's. And I love this because she says, there are inspiring people all around us. Every day to do is open your eyes and look. You will see them right in front of you. And the other thing I love that Rhonda says is that exercise is like brushing your teeth. It's just something you have to do every day to become part of your routine. And that's what she does. She doesn't miss. It's just part of her routine. The next I talk about is John Cullen. Again, another, I had young onset people that, but there's a ton of other people in their, 70s and 80s. Or, I mean, John Ball had Parkinson's for 50 years, and he's still out there running half marathons at the age of 78. Wow. So, I mean, there's just so many stories in this book.
Now you can do it then.
So John Cullen, though. John Cullen was climbing the Pyrenees Mountain in France. He noticed that he couldn't, his upstroke on the pedal not working, and he knew he was in big trouble because he knew something was really wrong, and he was coming in dead last hours. And he was an elite athlete. He was used to coming in first, so he knew something was really wrong, and so his body just like went downhill fast. He was having rigidity. He's losing coordination, and all the things that he loved to do, he couldn't do anymore. And so he suddenly found himself in the gym one day watching this guy, this big guy, throwing around some heavy weights and stuff. He's like, I can do that. That doesn't require a lot of coordination. That's what I want to do. And so he went over to the big guy and he said, hey,
Bud,
What?
could you come here a sec?
and I want to ask, can you, and he said, can you tell
I don't want
me
to watch
who
this now. I want to watch
who
the
can
other
train
things,
me?
not as important as other things I want to do right now.
Okay.
Can you
So he
find it
got-
for me later?
Yeah.
Like in a day or two?
The guy that was
We're gonna
actually
lose that.
doing
Okay.
the powerlifting was a personal trainer. So they set a goal that John was going to do a powerlifting competition in a year and a half. Now, to set this up for you, John could barely walk at that point. He was shuffling and he was, very rigid, barely walk. And so he started training. And there's a great video. He has a documentary that's won a ton of awards and things. But in this documentary, a before and an after video clip. And then to go walk very slowly and go over to a barbell and pick it up. It takes him a really long time. And then 6 months later, he just picks up that weight like he doesn't have Parkinson's. In a year and a half, he went and powerlifting competition. And not only did he do a power competition, he was lifting over 400 pounds. At 60, I can't remember, 63? 63-year-old with Parkinson's at a power competition. The crowd goes wild. They are so behind him. And he, when he goes out there for the first time to do the squat, he goes out and the Parkinson's gets the best of him. There's so much noise. His brain just he said he forgot how to, all of a sudden I forgot how to squat. Parkinson's just turned me upside down. And so he failed his first squat. Backstage, he talked to his coach and he's like, no, I'm not going to let Parkinson's, I'm not going to let it take what I've done for the last year and a half to prepare. And he goes back out there and he squats that some pounds like nobody's business. And it's just amazing. And then he just does a wonderful competition. And this showed what the mindset, what his mindset did, and what his belief in himself, and not letting that his Parkinson's take over what he wanted to achieve. So he discovered powerlifting strength to release Parkinson's symptoms. And that is, I have a whole chapter in the book. And the one thing I love, he came up with this: I have Parkinson's. Parkinson's does not have me. All about battle cries, or what we call them taglines, battle cries, tell drinks. But that is a beautiful line to have and to hold on to. That his is, I have Parkinson's. Parkinson's doesn't have me. And to hold on to something like that on days that you are struggling, really important. So back to the 3 pillars. I call them the 3 pillars, and I put them on pillars, where Parkinson's exercise came from. And let me I researched Parkinson's history. It does not exist. I couldn't find it anywhere when I was researching the book. And so I made it myself for that chapter in the book. You talked a little bit about it. Jay Alberts discovered Parkinson's exercise when on that ride across Iowa. It's a great story in the book. It's funny. It's wonderful. And the apple pie and all the stuff that goes along with it is really great. And so that happened in 2003. The clinic came on later. And then the second pillar, of course, is Dr. Marcus at Northwestern University. His Sparks treadmill studies made huge impact on Parkinson's exercise. And then, of course, Bosch and Bloom, his Parkinson shapes exercise studies, research, again, these monumental for what we've learned and how far we've come. So I'm going to just quickly go through these studies, and just so you know what they're about. Jay's studies were on tandem bikes. What he talks about is that the person, it's called exercise versus voluntary, and improves motor function, Parkinson's. And as you see, the person on the back has Parkinson's. That's actually Jay out front. And the person on the back, the force is the person, they're saying the person in the front is kind of forcing them to go than they normally would. But you have to remember that person in the back is really hard. They're working as hard as they can. So the volunteer, that group was just riding on a bike, and they were just going at whatever they wanted to ride at. All right. The cadence that they achieve is between 80 and 90 RPM. And I know it's fast, but I talk about this in the book. There is a way to those speeds, and nobody jumps on a bike just, starts at 80 to 90 RPM. So what I want to say is that while they improve aerobically, lung function, risk for disease, and their hearts improve, those are all great things. The forced group, the people that were going at higher, the rigidity, tremor, bradykinesia, gait, and all that, those on the Parkinson's rating scale, 35%. 35%. That was the very first exercise study for Parkinson's. Their symptoms improved by 35% was like monumental. The voluntary group, the ones that were going at the the same symptoms, they improve percent. And this is where I get taught in the book all the time. If you want your Parkinson's symptoms to improve, there is certain ways you have to work out. And just doing your voluntary exercise things, walking around the block and things like that, are going to not have any improvement. It may improve your heart, it may improve your lung function, it may improve things, but it's not going to help your Parkinson's symptoms. And I think that's what we do. So Sparks 2 came out, Daniel Corcus, a study in Parkinson's disease of exercise phase. Now, there was two really monumental things that were they achieved here. One, they were trying to see, is it for people with Parkinson's 60, 70, 80 years old to work out at a high intensity level for a long time? And the answer was yes, it is. And they were also trying to show that this exercise does slow the progression of the disease and in people with Parkinson's. So here we have the 80 to 85% of maximum heart rate figure number into being. It was through the Spark study. And so groups, he had a high intensity group working on a treadmill at 80 to 85% of maximum heart rate. He had a moderate intensity group at 60 to 65%. And then he had a care group. And those are the people that went for what they normally did. They went with, they went for, or they didn't work out at all. Okay, so visual care anymore in research studies. They've stopped doing that. So on the Parkinson's rating scale, the usual care groups by 3.3, the 60 to 65% group got worse by. But here's what is amazing about this study. The high intensity group didn't progress. The disease did not progress. It stayed. They were like, wow, this is great. This is great news. 6 months, the disease didn't progress. The symptoms didn't progress. Okay, we now know where we want to be. And so that's why this study was so 80 to 85% of maximum heart rate became the number. And I also explain in the book why 80 to 85% maximum heart rate is not as hard as you think it is to achieve. Because people tend to think that you have to work really, really to get that number. But it's harder for someone to hit that number than for people who haven't been working out. And I do this little exercise when I talk in groups where I have in shape worked out next to someone who's just getting back to working out. And the person who's been working out for a really long time, they would place with their arms pushing up over their heads to get their 80 to 85%. Someone who hasn't been working out could be sitting in a chair, pretty, at a good pace, and they would be at 80 to 85% of maximum heart rate. And when people see, oh, okay, I can do that, because I thought I was going to be that person running in place, but I don't have to. And that's why it's not as hard as you think it's going to be, especially if you have not been working out. So Sparks 3 is going on. And let me, just to give you an idea of science-proven research. I lost my train of thought here. Science-proven research. This project is $20 million. $20 million to Parkinson's exercise. I mean, that's pretty amazing. So there's 370 participants. It's underway in the US and 1 in Canada. Again, they're still proving that 80 to 85% of maximum is where they need to be. But they are doing a whole plethora blood studies of, I mean, in the book, I list it all out. But it's going to really advance Parkinson's exercise. It's really going to be exciting to see where this takes us in when the results come. I think it's going to be done in 2028 to really advance where we're going for the future of Parkinson's exercise. Exciting. And what's exciting is if anybody out there, they are still looking for volunteers to be part of Sparks 3. And I have a story in the book of a gentleman who was part of Sparks 3. One of the things it did for him was, it took him out of depression. He was in a depression before he started the Sparks 3 trial. He with his tremors so that he was able to play. He was a musician and he was very and felt he just didn't want it because it made him feel self-conscious. And so by the end of the study, as he was doing the study, his tremors got better. He was able to go out and play his instrument in public. And so he just couldn't believe, and he lost 40 pounds. So he just absolutely loved being a part of 3 study. And so the volunteers have to be between, and he highly recommends anybody who wants to be part of it to do it. Which is, you could be on another one. 40 to 80 years old, you're diagnosed with PD within the last 3 years, and you have to take medications for PD symptoms, or not planning to take medication symptoms in the next 6 months, and not currently participate in a structured exercise program. So if you know anybody that could fit that bill, send them to Sparks, www.sparks.com. And Dr. Corpus, or you can let me know, or I can let Dr. Corpus know. The last, Dr. Bloom's group, this is the last study that has had a monumental impact on us. And that is the Parkinson. And what it did is it took exercise out of the laboratory or the hospital into the people's homes. So exercise was on an indoor stationary bike, and they also added exergaming, virtual reality gaming, and all these fun incentives for people to exercise. And is that, which was important, is that people will exercise on their own. And so so you had this, and they had some really fun little programs that incentivized them to work at higher intensities, at more of that maximum heart rate. And then the group 2 was a stretching group, stretching, flexibility. They had motivational apps too. And they both did the same amount of time and was the workout plan. And then phase of that same Parkinson study, MRI brain scans. And this is where it got really interesting. So we had the results from the phase 1 study showed that the cycle group was 2 points lower, which means better on the rating scale than the stretching group. Really, what was really interesting is that neuroplasticity showed in the cycle group 2 in humans significant, because prior to this study, there was only research on animals. animal studies to show that neuro actually occurs in the brain. So neuroplasticity helps us. It helps us to rewire for change in the brain. All the time, neuroplasticity. But what it does for you is when we do cardio workouts, the brain is changing so you can learn something that Parkinson's has taken away. So if you lost your arm swing and it's like barely moving, after doing bouts of cardio, you can retrain your brain to walk with a big arm swing because neuro lets you relearn things. And that's really important. The other thing is the study showed is that the brain didn't shrink in the cycle group. No atrophy. So Parkinson's has brain atrophy is a hallmark sign of, and so the fact that the brain did not shrink in the cycle group was another huge thing. And then the third thing in the study that they found is that the brain from the Parkinson's showed new brain connections, the brain, the cortex, the brain cortex. So other huge finding in this study, where the stretching group, the brain atrophy got the worse. So now I'm going to show you this little slide I absolutely love. Because people always ask, how does the brain rewire? How does it rewire? What happens in the brain? So treadmill training, or you're on the treadmill, you're doing rock steady boxing, you're exercising, okay? And what is this? See that little muscle pumping? It's contracting. And when that contracts, it releases these little hormones. It's called irisin. And irisin is a wonderful hormone. It's the exercise hormone. It's great things to help your cognitive, especially after exercise. I always tell my people, if you've got cognitive to do it after exercise, because you've flooded your with this exercise hormone and your cognitive function is working wonderfully for like 4 hours after exercise. All right. This stimulates this BDNF. It's brain-derived neuron factor. And what this does is protect the neurons. And you know, Parkinson's damages these neurons, but BDNF the neurons and preserves those neurons in the brain. And it brings about all these wonderful things. Helps that those cells survive. It brings neuroprotection. It helps your memory, helps your learning. All these great things are happening. And then I'm going to briefly show you what the positive of exercise are on your brain. One, we all love this. It improves your mood and your sleep. It's stress and anxiety. It reduces insulin. So insulin causes tremor, bradykinesia, rigidity, all of those things from insulin, and exercise reduce it. And all this, I talk about all this stuff in the book. So I'm just going to kind of, it reduces inflammation, and inflammation is what helps the progression of Parkinson's. So exercise is helping. It stimulates and reduces growth factor, the same thing with new blood vessels. Again, the neuropathy, which helps our memory and our relearning, not just learning, but relearning those things that's taken away from us. And it helps our brain cells survive. So go through, the book is broken up. As I said, the first part is about the scientists that have worked for more than decades to prove that exercise is a proven therapy for people with Parkinson's. Then I have in the book is your how do you exercise to reduce. So I give you the tools and the cocktail and the things that you need, and then I describe in each of the following chapters these next things I'm going to go over, which is science-proven exercises. And that is the research-proven exercises. And that's the sling, the treadmill, strength, and then sports activities is, so so you have the research science proven those are the things that had 20 years of research and millions of dollars. But everything else, rock steady boxing, everything else too, but they don't have that kind of money and research behind them. So, we sports activities. And most of those, they take the research and they apply it to how they build that they have. And that's good too. But that's why I only put one sports activities. I'd have to write a second book to do. There's activities out there. I mean, there's the list is endless. Pick rock steady boxing because they do have a lot of science. Worked with was it Indianapolis? They did a lot of research, and you'll see that in the book. But science proven exercise has, what makes it science proven is determines frequency. It determines the time, so how long you need to work out, frequency, how often. It determines intensity, how hard you have to work out, and then what of your workout. So that's what makes a proven exercise. So the first science proven exercise, and they have determined that 3 times a week for cycling, the goal, of course, 30 minutes to 45 minutes. Starts at 30 minutes, unless they've been a cyclist their whole life. People, when they come to a cycle class, 10 minutes. That's your goal for your first cycle class. 10 minutes. You're doing great if you do it for 10 minutes. Intensity, of course, the cadence is set at 80 RPM. Realistically, when people first start, they start at 50. But you work your way up slowly. And I discussed this a lot. Type is, you ride indoor, you ride outdoor, it's whatever you like. I love this picture of here today with us. Sydney and her, the story is hysterical. Sydney's journey coming home, telling her husband, Pat, that she's going to ride across. He's just like, where the hell is Iowa? He's like, I mean, you're going to ride across the state of Iowa. You don't even have a bike. Great story. And they've been riding all over the country for years on the bike. And it's a great way to, if you can get involved in your exercise program, riding tandem is a great thing. So the next one is, and they have defined it, the frequency 3 times a week, 30 to 45 minutes. Again, you would work your way up in 80%. I need a percent sign there. Max weight. And again, you can do indoor, you can do outdoor. It's really up to you. And then I am going to talk a little bit more here about progressive strength training. I have a ton of research in the book from Dr. who did, there's 2 different very large 2-year studies for each. People were in these studies for over 2 years. Number one, they had wonderful results from being. It showed that they could stay in a long research study that long, and So Dr. Corkus likes to do long studies. But there's something you need to understand about strength training, and that is from the age of 40, everybody starts to lose muscle, which is called sarcopenia, and we lose and muscle strength, and that's dynapenia. And I just want you to see, because I like pictures. Here's a healthy muscle. See how much pink muscle there is, and the leg has that calf. And then when you lose it, how it shrunk, it's gone, kind of like the brain shrinkage. And the leg becomes almost like a stick. There's a reason this is not good for us with Parkinson's. And that is because it affects your gait and your overall ability to just do simple things in life. And we already have that with Parkinson's. So then you add sarcopenia, loss of muscle, and dynapenia, which is muscle strength. And you've got almost a triple whammy. And the reason triple whammy is because that leads to falls different angles. And that's, there it is. Whoops, I went the wrong way. Falls. That's the one thing we do not want. We don't want falls. We don't want broken. We don't want broken anything. And the one step further is it leads to frailty. And frailty is up in retirement homes. And we end up not being able to take care of ourselves. All of these things are a big concern. So the thing about the sarcopenia and dynapenia is it's preventable, it's treatable, and it's reversible without med. And that's through strength training. Strength training is important. It's also a science-proven training that it works. So frequency, 2 times a week, 8 to 12 reps, you work your way to 3, but you will really, I recommend you work with a personal trainer, hopefully one, if you can find one that has credentials of working with people with Parkinson's. And, you're going to mix, they're going to have you work with machines and free weights and bands or whatever, have you work with whatever, depending on your stage of Parkinson's and all of that. But if a personal trainer is not something that you can work with, then I recommend like to a class that has strength training in it. So Rock Steady Boxing has strength training always in its circuit. PWR has strength training. So there are classes out there that have strength training components already built. And I have those kinds of classes in the book, and that is, I'll show you that with the cocktail. So this Rock Steady Boxing is chapter 10 in the book, sports activity. I'm not talking about it. Just know this is one of my favorite chapters in the book. It's an incredible, just the whole story of how Rock Steady Boxing came into being by Parkinson's. It's a phenomenal story. They've got great science, and the stories are inspirational. Yeah, Rock Steady Boxing is awesome. So here we're at the cocktail, and I have to tell you, the cocktail is a big hit. I mean, with neurologists. Michael Open, who is one of the biggest names in neurology, loves this cocktail, and I'm just surprised about how the cocktail is with everybody. So I'm going to show you the cocktail, and I'm going to give you a demonstration on using Kay Arvidsson, who's here today. She's chapter 4 story. Story is wonderful and inspirational. And the exercise cocktail plan. Now, when you build a cocktail, the cocktail is, I do have to say that it's really about building a personal cocktail that their abilities and what they want to achieve. About it's a fun thing, and it's kind of like it makes you feel better. So, except we hope that this cocktail is longer. So we start with, what is your favorite drink? His favorite drink is a screwdriver. So then this is where I come up with my battle cry or your tagline. You come up with how do you take this screwdriver and turn it into a battle? So I love Kay's. Hers is screw you, Parkinson's. Best ones I've heard come up with. And sometimes when Kay out and maybe not feeling great, or she's kind of on the bike and she's like, oh, she's not feeling it today, and I'll say, Kay, what's your battle cry, Kay? And she'll go, oh, screw you. And I'll go, Kay, what's your battle cry? And she'll go, you, Parkinson's. And then she'll really get into her workout. So it's John's. I have Parkinson's, but Parkinson's, it's just something that you can hang on to when maybe you're not feeling it that day. I'm going to talk about the layers of the cocktail real quick. Is that high intensity training, the biking, cycling, those. The second layer is your PD specific work. 3 is your strength training, which we just talked about and why it's so important. The 4th is your flexibility and balance, things like yoga, Pilates. And number 5 is the olive on top. And it's what you love. And so I'm going to now show you actual cocktail. So Kay does cycling and she does 1 boxing class. 2 days a week for her PD specific work, she does a total Parkinson. And that is a class that focuses on cardio to get the heart rate up. And then it does specific PD work, whether that's multitasking, large amplitude walking, very specific for Parkinson. Then so we do strength training twice a week. And for Kay, we'll do 30 minutes of cycling, and then we'll do 30 minutes of strength training. So we do it together. Just so you probably think, oh my God, how many days a week is that? So, and then what she loves to do, she grows the most beautiful dahlias in the state of Iowa, and wins, competitions with her dahlias. And she's also part of the, she does community work for Parkinson's. She's on the board of directors here for the local chapter of, and she works nonstop for people with Parkinson's. So that's her what I love. And that is cocktail. And then in the book of the book is a huge resource. Like level 2, there's a list of what's out there, how to vote, where their websites are, where to go, and things you would be able to choose from to build your cocktail. So, I got 2 wonderful endorsements on my book this week, and from like the 2 top neurologists in the country. Ray Dorsey, who is a professor of neurology at the University of Rochester, who is also author of Ending Parkinson's Disease. He wrote this quote: "Parkinson's, How to Reduce Symptoms Through Exercise is a great book filled with inspirational stories and resources to help in your Parkinson's disease." And then Michael Oken, also director of Fixel Institute for Neurological Diseases, the University of the author also of Ending Parkinson's Disease. Parkinson's, How to Reduce Symptoms Through Exercise is a must-read. The book has easy to understand, actionable information that will delight you and impact your life. Get ready to prepare your PD exercise cocktail and drink it each day for better living. I love that. Oh, and I just want to say that everybody, all the stories in the book, they're about all different people, all different experiences, with different struggles, different approaches to their journeys, but they all started the same way. They all took one step, and they all took the next step the next day. And it's about taking that daily step with your own personal exercise journey. And you think, oh my gosh, but they, they did a marathon, they did this, and they did, they had a cane and then they don't have it anymore, or they were going to be in a wheelchair and they're no longer in a wheelchair. It may feel like, it is, what's the word? It's unachievable, but they all did the same thing. They did the same thing for a long period of time, and all of a sudden looked back and was like, wow, by doing a simple thing every day called exercise, I achieved something I never thought I would. But they all did that same thing. They just got up every day and they did their exercise. And that's, that's the same thing is available to everyone. So hope that you can see what is possible. That is what hope the book brings, is that you can see what is possible by what other people have done. Okay, I'm done.
Thank you, Kristine. That was fabulous. Everybody, I think all of you are familiar with Jimmy Choi, who was on American Ninja Warrior. He started out by walking to the corner, down his driveway and back, because he couldn't move any faster than that. And eventually worked his way up to doing marathons. So we're not all going to be Jimmy Choi. We're not all going to be superheroes, but we can move. And you can improve your movement by doing exercise 3 to 4 or 5 times a week, whatever works for you. My suggestion, in addition to what everything that Kristine said, is if you don't like riding a bike, you don't like the treadmill, what exercise do you enjoy? Do it. If you don't like it, you're not going to do it. You'll find every excuse not to. That's the only thing I can do, everything that you said. Do we want to have any of the people who were in the book say a few words?
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, do you want to have anything to say?
Sure, thank you. I have been known to say, with regard to exercise, that the bane of my existence is now my salvation. And I totally agree with that philosophy. Exercise, and the kind of exercise, the cocktail that Kristine has talked about, has opened up my thought process. I've had DBS surgery. I can actually feel my brain engaging when I get into the aerobic exercise and then move forward into the weight training or into the other aspects of the cocktail. So I would say that following your heart and following the guidelines that are laid out in this book make it possible to define yourself with PD and not let PD define you.
Thank you. Sydney?
Yeah, so I've had Parkinson's for 14 years, and the last couple of years have been hell. But what I did the first 10, 11 years made a huge difference. I'm still strong. I can't do it at the intensity because I have what's called diphasic dyskinesia. But I'm still strong. I set up a, well, what do you call it? Anyway, I set up being strong for 10 years. I wrote for 10, 11 years. And so I'm really working hard to get back. I've had to pivot, but don't be afraid to pivot. My husband put up a video of me doing chair exercises the other day because that's where I'm at now.
We got your back, Sydney. Amy says dance. Yes. Yeah, I saw it. Yeah, we got your back. We got your back. We got your back.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Who else? Donella and then Trent, I guess. And I think that's it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Donella?
Yes,
still-
exercise has always been a part of my life. I'm actually in my exercise room now, kind of watching the Caitlin Clark Iowa ball game. But actually, the book is, everybody needs to read the book. Non-exercisers, exercisers, Parkinson's patients. I mean, it's a good read for everybody. The things that they say, everyone needs to be doing, and I think we can all give each other support. And we just need to be there for each other because we all have those days. And something about getting on the bicycle makes me feel better. And I think we need to remember that we feel better after we exercise, because there's days I don't want to. But I've got my buddies that I exercise with, and just move, guys, ladies, twitchy women.
Thank you. And Trent, you have anything to add to this?
Yeah, I could add for about an hour because this stuff is so rich. And I think I want to start with Kristine's her approach. And that was first, there needed to be a resource for one-stop shopping, which she's provided. She lined up some of the top names in the field to her credit to reinforce it. And the other is that in terms of people that you can measure yourself against, a lot of everyday people, again, everyone can't be a Jimmy Choi, but these are people in the book that you can aspire to. And it's not a comparative thing. It's your own self-improvement in terms of measuring yourself against kind of where you started. You know, I just happened to be subscribing to the cocktail for 40 years because I had symptoms when I was 25. I'm now 68. My meds have not changed in 14 years since diagnosis. And to Kristine's point, in terms of having a tagline, the tagline we have in Ping Pong for Good is, where can someone give you something natural, a natural approach that you can be improving on every day to counter something that's supposedly progressive? So with that kind of as an opportunity, the natural approach to complement the meds is terrific. And I think if you can, to add to what Sharon had said, you do things for two reasons. One is because you enjoy them, but the other is because you can. So you need to be set up for success, and you need to have something that you can actually accomplish and do and feel successful doing it.
Great, thank you. Joel,
I have
can you
a
put?
question.
Yes, Michael.
Oh, thank you. I have a question for Kristine. I've had Parkinson's for about 3.5, 4 years. I'm 76 years old. Does aerobic exercise at about 80% of maximum heartbeat cause neurogenesis of dopamine cells in the substantia nigra?
Okay, say the question again.
Does vigorous aerobic exercise at about 80% of maximum heartbeat cause neurogenesis of dopamine cells in the substantia nigra?
What happens is it won't increase your dopamine, but what it does, they think happens is that it helps what you have work better.
I see, but it hasn't been proved exactly, I think, that new dopamine cells aren't being produced, because maybe they are, or is that known for sure that they aren't being produced?
Yeah, so I think the theory is still out on whether they're actually being produced versus
Okay,
they're
that's good
actually,
news.
huh?
That's good news. If it hasn't been proved yet that they aren't being produced, because maybe they are.
Well, yeah, they know something is happening with the but it's more that like the slide where I showed you with the neuroprotection and the cells and
Yeah.
all that. But they
Yeah.
do think that the what's happening with the dopamine have left, anything left, is working better.
Is better, right? Okay. Okay, thank you. Have you personally ever
Right.
exercised up to 80% of max?
Have I? Yeah.
Wow, and then you know what it's like. Yeah, because I do it
Yeah.
3 times a week.
So, but do you have
Do I
you
have what?
in the book, it shows, so in the book, it shows you how to calculate it.
Yeah, I took 220 minus my age times point.
Times so it's the Tanaka formula. So I tell you to use the Tanaka formula.
What's it called?
There's a little so
Okay, I can find it on the internet.
if you were 60,
Yes.
your actual rate would be 32.
Okay.
Your
Okay.
heart rate.
Okay.
Okay.
It's
All
a
right,
lot lower than you think.
Was that 132 or 32?
132.
It's probably 132.
80% of 166.
Okay,
Okay.
This
132.
formula.
okay.
Okay.
So this
I
is a
would
different than most people use.
Right.
This is a more accurate formula.
Okay, I think I'm okay with that.
Okay.
Yes,
We're
it's much.
One more question, Kristine, and then I'm gonna wrap up, okay? 'Cause
Okay,
it's after-
Okay.
thank you. Thank you, girl.
All right, we have a question. Denise, unmute yourself. Denise Dunn.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Good morning. I was hoping, and maybe it's somewhere and I don't know, but where was the URL or the information about the Sparks 3 volunteers? How does that there was a website or something you put up?
Yep. It is.
We can put it in the chat.
That would be great. So any of those resources in the chat would be lovely.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And let people know that you think would want to do it.
Yes, and great presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Deborah, you have a quick question? Otherwise, we're gonna up and then you.
Kristine, how long does it take if you don't do any of this stuff? 'Cause I know someone who's like that, but I mean, I don't, how long does it take to deteriorate? I'm just trying to get an idea.
Oh, well, it, I mean, I probably, it's different for every person, right? It's just like
Yeah.
Parkinson's, it's different for every person.
Right.
But, it is a very, exercise helps, it does help slow things down. So it's
But
does.
this lady has gone from 2 years ago to a wheelchair. So, yeah. Mhm.
Really?
Yeah, that's what my cousin told me. So, yeah.
So
She-
you personally did?
No, this woman that my cousin knows had been
Oh,
diagnosed
yeah.
with 2
So
years.
sometimes when it happens with something like sometimes it cannot be Parkinson's, it can be called Parkinsonism.
Mm.
So there's four classifications under Parkinsonisms, which are much more aggressive than Parkinson's.
Yeah, she just doesn't want to do anything like that. So I'm thinking about sending her the book anyway.
Oh, you should.
Yeah, I think I will.
I have to
You
tell
should.
you, I'm gonna wrap up here. Joel, can you put up the next?
Thank you,
share?
Twitchy. You're so
Thank you.
cute.
A friend of mine who has MS,
Oh.
no, has the book, and she said it has made such a difference for her. So, it applies across the board.
It
Yeah.
does. It does.
Yeah, Kristine,
Thank you
I wanna
so
thank
much,
you. This was
Sharon.
amazing. If you
Yeah.
can put put that link in the chat for us, please? That would be great.
Yeah.
So next, in 2 weeks, we're going to be celebrating our 4th anniversary. We're going to have some door prizes, giveaways. So please, please, please join us. So there were only 8 people signed up as of this morning. Christy LaMonica, who is the author, one of the co-authors of this book, will be joining us, and she is great. And she is, the book is designed for women with young onset. You don't have to be young onset to join us that day. I think you're going to enjoy it no matter what. And just bring your fanciest shoes, and we'll all come to our heels and have a
They're
good
dancing in those stilettos? No way.
Yeah.
Oh, you know, I have
way.
stilettos, and people look at me and say, why are you wearing those shoes? I gave away my 4-inch ones. Broke my heart, I have to tell you. Okay, but please, we're going to have a lot of fun. We're celebrating 4 years together.
My
And then-
family.
And then I'm going to be cutting back to once a month for a while. We'll see how that goes. We've had so many amazing speakers over the last 4 years, and we've covered so many topics.
Yeah.
I'm running out of people to call. So, yeah, I know. Many of you have made suggestions for speakers, which has been great. April 7th, we have Amy Mayowitz from the Parkinson's Wellness Fund, and she gives a great presentation about how you can get help for things that are not covered by Medicare or by your insurance. And they provide all kinds of things for people with Parkinson's for extras, things that you would not know, sometimes even a gym membership. It just depends on what your needs. So she will be joining us that day. Next slide, Joel. Next slide. Okay. On March 8th, next Friday, Rochelle Flanagan, who has spoken to this group a couple of times, will be talking about how Parkinson's and its medications can affect women differently from men, and especially younger women. And it's going to be fabulous. She's a great presenter, and if you have the time, you should definitely join her for that presentation. Next slide.
On your site? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's right. I have it's No Sprig Pod at podbean.com. It will be in the newsletter tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay. We have chat groups. Anything Goes on Tuesday mornings with Shelley Zaboy. They meet every week on Tuesday morning. And Twitchies Without Partners usually meets before our meetings. At these meetings we have, but if we're cutting down to once a month, we're going to work out a plan to meet twice a month with that group on their own. Okay.
Is that Tuesday one? Is that the one where you do the exercise or the yoga or something? Or breathing?
No.
Oh,
There's
okay.
support groups. They're chat
Okay.
groups.
Oh, okay. Because I saw something one time like that.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
And
Yeah.
next slide. Do we have another slide? We have 3 Facebook groups. We have Twitchy Women, which many of you belong to. Excuse me. Parkies with Pelotons, and we just added a Care Partners group, which needs more people. Excuse me, my voice is going. And yeah, if you are a care partner, please join the group. Just look for Twitchy Care Partners, and you should be able to find it. And I think that is the last slide. Maybe not. Our peer-to-peer mentoring program is still going strong. If you are newly diagnosed and want to be connected with someone who can help you, who has lived with the disease for several years, check it out on the website, Twitchy Women's Peer Support Program for women.
Okay.
And the next slide, I think, is just our t-shirts and other goodies. We will have some of these coffee mugs we'll be giving away in 2 weeks. So that's another reason to join us if you want a coffee mug, and some t-shirts. And I think that is it. So if anybody wants to stay on for a few minutes, you're welcome to stay on. We can continue the conversation. Kristine, thank you. It was wonderful.
Thank
And we will
Thank
stop.
you, Twitchy woman.